everybody. I'm so excited today because I love Disney. I love making bath bombs, and I especially love making cupcake style bath bombs. And today we are going to be doing Disney's Grape Soda Cupcake. Oh, I am so excited. And I have to be honest, when I saw a picture of it on Instagram, I instantly thought it was a bath bomb just because of how I make bath bombs and other bath bomb makers make them. And of course, the first thing I think of whenever I see a cupcake is that a bath bomb? And I have to actually read the description. So today we're going to make the Disney Grape Soda Cupcake in a bath bomb version. So excited. First thing you have to do is there's a little white topper on top of the cupcake. So we can't do it exactly, but we are going to do our version. So first things first, we're gonna have to make the topper. So I don't have thinner molds, so I'm only gonna fill these part of the way. So we're just gonna make some of these. We're gonna get these done, and then they will be able to sit and harden while we do our other things. So here I've got some melted melt and pour soap, unscented and in white. We don't need it scented because we're gonna scent the other layers of the bath bomb. So we're just gonna do, just kind of eyeballing it. Again, we don't want this completely filled. We want to be able to just have a little topper. And you know, you do something too big as a topper and it just weighs down the cupcake, and it just doesn't look so pretty. So, and we don't need it to be big anyway. We just need it to be just a little topper. Okay, that's perfect. So we're gonna put these aside and we're gonna let them harden, and then we're going to paint the top with some mica and some isopropyl alcohol. Just give it a nice little ta-da on the top. So let's move on to the next step and get this going. Okay, let's get started. So you want to do 2 parts baking soda versus 1 part citric acid. That is your basic recipe. There are many recipes out there. Pick and choose which one you like and alter them to your specifications. I'm just doing, for video purposes, just a basic recipe. So that's our 2 parts baking soda, and we're going to do 1 part citric. And then I sift everything because I don't like clumps in the bath bombs. And once you have clumps, very hard to get out. All right. And then we're just going to see these clumps. I'm going to get rid of all those. You don't want all those in your bath bombs. It would make it look really ugly, I guess you could say. You know, especially if you color your bath bombs. This particular one, I'm not going to color the base, but I still sipped it anyway. Okay, so we're just going to put this down here, and we're just going to mix this up nice and good. Now at this point, you know, if you have oils or clays or mica or colorant that you want to use, you would put that in. Again, I'm doing a basic recipe, so I'm just going to do scent and a little bit of witch hazel. Some people use isopropyl alcohol. Some people, you know, some people don't use anything at all. I happen to like the witch hazel. Some people's areas are highly drenched with humidity. So you have to alter things based on your area. So today we are doing some Galactic Grape that comes from Wholesale Supplies Plus. Many scents have vanilla in it, and it will discolor your bath bombs. This particular one, I'm okay if it discolors because it's gonna sort of look like a cupcake color anyway, right? So that's good. We're okay with that. So let me just turn this. This smells really good. So you want to make sure you mix that up really well, get everything from underneath. Normally I use a stand mixer with a paddle on it, but you know, lacking space today, so I'm only doing a very small batch, so I'm not doing my normal size batch. Again, if you use oils, colorant of any kind, clays, this is the part you want to add it in. All right, so we got that all mixed up. Now, again, not coloring this. My scent is going to discolor it a little bit, which is fine because again, it's going to be a cupcake, so you're not going to see it in the little cup that I'm using for display purposes, but also for this in particular one, I'm okay with it. So we're going to move on to filling our cupcake things. So I don't fill them all the way. I fill them maybe to about here, because that gives some room for us to start the frosting part of it. So I'll fill them almost all the way, just not quite. Okay, so I think we've got some space made here. So now we're gonna do the witch hazel. Basically what you want is like right now, this is very powdery, feels very nice, but it's very powdery. What we want is almost like wet sand. And now I live near a beach, so I know what wet sand feels like. So it's very hard to explain when you've never been to a beach and dealt with wet sand, but it's almost, it'll mold in your hand. And if it molds in your hand and without breaking, you know you're good to go. You don't want it too wet because when it's in the cup or in your mold, it's going to start activating and you're gonna see it makes this big puff ball. Once it does that, it's really no good. It's not going to activate very much in the bath. So you want to not get to that point. You want to just slightly under. And it's very hard to gauge. Again, sometimes humidity is very high in certain areas and you have to alter how you're making your bath bombs in order for them to come out good. And trust me, in my area, every day it's humidity in the summer. So I have to alter my days. How bad is it today? Is it low humidity? Is it high humidity? Is there no humidity? Every single day is different and that makes it very hard, but we get through. So I have some witch hazel. Again, some people like using rubbing alcohol, you know, oils. I use this when I'm doing stuff for mostly myself or friends or whatever, when I'm using a basic recipe, but you can alter your recipe depending on what you're doing and, you know, if you're going to sell them or just use them yourself, or again, your humidity, totally up to you. Here we go. Let's put some alcohol in. So we spray a little bit and you'll see it activate a tiny bit, but you start mixing it up and it doesn't do that so much. At some point I do go in with my hands. It makes it a little bit easier to mix up all that stuff on the bottom. We want to make sure Again, I usually use a stand mixer, but for a small batch, I don't need that big old mixer. Put a little elbow in. I could use some arm exercises. So we'll just test it out, kind of gauge. I'm not totally there yet. Just go in with our hands. It's kind of feeling the right consistency here. Let's see. That's good. Doesn't break. So we know we're good. So let's start filling our little cups. Again, I'm not going to fill it completely to the top. So we're just going to get a little bit in, and then we're just going to poke it down a little bit, not fully. We don't want it fully packed, but we want to make sure set this down because I don't want it to change the shape. So we're getting close to the top. So what I'm going to do is now kind of really pack it. You can use a back of a spoon if that works for you. I don't really find that that works for me, so excuse me. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you're gonna have a sort of frosting on top, so that's gonna be the highlight. All right. So I think we're good with this one. I'm gonna move on to the others and then we will get to the frosting. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a little paint swoosh over the top of our toppers. And again, we are doing a Disney inspired, so we don't wanna completely copy the Disney version, which I couldn't do anyway because I have not gotten myself to that talent level of putting words on soap. So we're gonna do our version. So in here I have a mix of 91% isopropyl alcohol and some mica. There are different percentages of isopropyl alcohol. I have not quite figured out the best one, but you can definitely do a tester. And we're just gonna do a light little swoosh on the top. And it's just more making sure we have a nice purpley color. Just an accent color is really all we're doing. Just a little fun. So it's not plain white is basically what we're doing. We don't want it to just be white. We just want to have a little color, sort of tie it all together. And then we're gonna let that dry while we work on our frosting. So let me go grab everything together for that and we'll be right back. Okay, so now it's time for our frosting. So let me go grab some cocoa butter out of the microwave. I just overheated it up for a minute because I don't need a lot and I just needed it melted, you know, just a little smidge because we're just kind of dolloping here. So what we're gonna do is, this is baking soda with some mica. And because we have mica, and we also, you know, if you use oils or colorant, you want to use some polysorbate 80. That'll help it from sticking. It'll help disperse oils evenly. So we have a little bit of that in there. So we have baking soda, mica, polysorbate 80 and some of our grape scent. What we need to do is add some, and I know I'm going to say it wrong, cocoa betaine or cocoa bee. Don't confuse it with cocoa butter. It's different than cocoa butter. I use Bubble Up from Wholesale Supplies Plus. The one thing to know is once you add the Bubble Up to the mixture, you have very limited time to work, and you're going to mix and mix and mix until it becomes sort of a frosting consistency. Sometimes you have to add a little more, sometimes it takes a little less. If it's too runny, add some more baking soda. You don't want it too thick where you can't pipe it, but you also don't want it too thin that when you do pipe it, it doesn't just sink. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get a little bit of cocoa butter on top of our cupcakes, just a little bit in the middle, because the frosting doesn't really stick very well, so you just need something to sort of hold it on. And then we'll do the same thing on the top when we add our little topper. So first things first, we're going to add a little dollop. Let me grab a spoon of cocoa butter. On top of each of our cupcakes here. And I'm just gonna do 2 at a time because if the cocoa butter starts to set, it's not gonna, we're just gonna put a little, just a little bit. Let's add our, and everything is a ratio, so for every cup of baking soda, it's a 1/4 cup of Bubble Up. Again, you will have to alter as you're going along. Sometimes it's still too thick and sometimes it's too thin. Again, weather dependent, and it's interesting to watch this do its thing because you don't want to instantly, knowing this consistency right now, see it's crumbly, don't assume it's going to stay like that. You just keep mixing and mixing and mixing. It's getting a little softer. You can see how we're getting it to a whipped consistency. Look at how crazy that is, how it changes. So now for me, this is still a little too thick. I'm not going to be able to pipe this. So you never add too much, literally a couple of drops at a time. Couple drops. So we're just going to do, whoop, I think that was too much, but we're going to see. If it's too thin, we'll add some baking soda. Got a great purple going on there. It's a nice purple. And just keep whipping, whipping and whipping and whipping and whipping. Might be a little too, it's not really, well, we're gonna try it. We're gonna try it and see if it works. We could always do just a little bit of the dollop, so let me do the rest of them because we might do this in pieces here. Last one with some cocoa butter, and then we'll do some dollops. So let's fill our pastry bag. So I have a pastry bag with a tip on it. You can use whatever tip you like. I happen to like this one, 8V. I don't know all the tip numbers, but that seems to be a good one for me. Let's get that out of the way. All right, so we're gonna fill our piping bag. Now, this was just a small batch of the whipped frosting. If you're doing a large batch of bath bombs, my suggestion, if you're using this particular type of recipe, is to do them in small batches, because this hardens up a little bit faster than you would think. And you have to try and get it all out, and getting it out of the bag, redoing it, like adding a little bit more of the cocoa bee or whatever you need to do to it is not the hard part. It's getting it out of this bag. Not so fun, and you actually lose some of it, and that's just a waste. So I try to do just small batches, so I might not even get through all 5 of these with this one batch, but we'll see. So again, sort of have to work hard. I'm thinking it's a little loose, so I think we're gonna do the middle dollops first and see. We want to get a base, something to work around, give ourselves some height. Let's try one and see if it's too thin. I think it is, but we'll see. Go around. Get 3 out of it, I think. Well, that one was a messy one, so that's okay. That one's mine anyway. And then we'll just put the rest on this one. It's going to be for me anyway, but it's not going to matter. This one will be mine, which is good. And, you know, sometimes you just need to get have a card in front of me. So let's try just the back of the knife. We're just going to try and get some of this down so we don't waste it. Doesn't work as good as the back of a card, but we're gonna do it. All right, and then we'll just get the rest on this one, and then this will be the one I use tonight. Good enough. Okay, so now take these 2 aside that are mine. We're gonna get our little topper. So again, a little dollop of the cocoa butter on the back of your little things here. It'll be a nice little, and then we'll just say, whoop, okay. And do another one. And we'll do this one. And there you have it. You have your Disney inspired, and you can do this with any type of, if you want Disney, you want, you know, any other type of thing that you like. You could do a coffee inspired, you could do maybe Cinderella if you want to go back to the Disney route. I personally am a big foodie, so Lord knows I'll do anything that has to do with food, but that's pretty much it. It's multi-steps. It's not a terrible thing, but you know, it is a little bit time consuming. But if you want to do it for fun, this would be a great project with the kids, especially if the kids love Disney. They could maybe have a little Disney treat for the bath. And it smells so good. It smells like grape, grape, grape. Before we go, I just want to show you. You see this little bit left? Really not much. Just a little bits and pieces. And then what's on the spatula. Just this little bit. I'm going to show you how much bubbles these make. I'm going to add some hot water and I'm going to show you. So again, this little bit compared to how much is on your cupcake, it's going to show you how much bubbles you're going to get. So let's add some hot water to this bowl. And I'm just going to add enough where you can see. Obviously this bowl isn't even close to the size of what your tub is going to be. But look at this. Look at these bubbles. And that's just from this little bit in the bowl. So imagine what your bath is going to have. Look at all those bubbles just from the little tiny bits in this bowl. So imagine the amount of bubbles that your bath is going to have. So many bubbles. Little tiny bits from the spatula. And this is going to create a ton of bubbles in your bath. It's going to be so much fun. Enjoy.